And time to have another new experience, corporate to startups to M&A to angel investing to ... I leave behind PayU, LazyPay, Citrus and a bit of my heart, end of quote. We of course have reached out to Amrish and Naspers for comment, but we haven't received responses yet. Moving on, over the last decade, Flipkart and Amazon have given Indian e-commerce a major boost. But the fact remains that several back of beyond locations in the rural heartland still haven't been serviced by the e-tail giants. And that has served as a fertile market for Chennai-based startup Boonbox that has carved a niche for itself as the primary e-commerce service provider for 3 lakh villages across the country. CNBC TV 18's Jude Sanet checks in to find out how Boonbox's business model works and how it plans on growing its business. Take a look.
4 million funding here at Boonbox in 2018, and what has happened since then is an expansion to nearly 16 states and 300,000 villages. You kind of operate in a large space, but more importantly, service the markets that are unserviced by existing big-ticket e-commerce players. Is that your big differentiator, really?
Absolutely, because rural India has 70% of Indians living over there, right? So we moved from 8 states where we're in to 16 states. We were operating in about 89,000 villages. We now acquire customers and deliver products in 300,000 villages, right? So that's the scale of operations, and we really want to scale up because rural India is that big. We want to cover 70% of India's population.
Right, and 8,600 pin codes is no mean feat, at least as far as this journey is concerned since 2013 when you established. What's the way forward in terms of doing bigger things and doing better things, really? I know 70% of the population is what you hope to cover. How do you plan on getting there?
See, first thing is 8,600 pin codes are fairly unique. I think what many people do not understand is that a pin code goes between 5 kilometers to 35 kilometers, right? So we deliver in areas that nobody else does, number one. Number two, the second idea really is to keep selling more to our customers, right? Getting them onto the smartphone in some way, probably through WhatsApp groups, and then catering to their aspirations from a daily consumption point of view also.
So how do you operate at Boonbox really in terms of take me through how an order is placed, how it is processed? Is it pretty much the Flipkart Amazon model but for a rural setup? Is it as simple as that?
Well, if it's rural, you've got to be a full stack player. So you bring the whole 9 yards over there because the ecosystem doesn't exist, right? There is no rural commerce ecosystem that exists. It's completely broken. So what we really do is we have affiliates taking orders in the states that we operate and the villages that we operate in. Once we get the orders, they take the orders through the Boonbox app. The orders hit our server. Once we do that, we procure the products directly from the OEMs. And this is the easiest part. Now comes the problem of how do you deliver products to very, very remote hamlets and villages, right? And we operate, like I said, in 300,000 villages. We have our own hub and spoke delivery concept. We have about 800 fulfillment centers from which we cover these 300,000 villages. It doesn't stop there though, because we really need to now give post-sale service, right? Your rural customer is not going to get into an IVR, get into a toll-free number and get a ticket. So we actually work with them to deliver products to their households. We arrange for the demo and installation. They call us on our customer service toll-free number where we speak the languages of the 16 states and all the dialects like Bhojpuri, Sambalpuri and Bodo.
Right. I'm very curious. You tell me about, back of beyond areas that you delivered to, and I have to ask you then, which was the most interesting or the most, unique in terms of outlandish location that you've actually managed to deliver to, and what kind of challenges did you face while delivering to this location?
I really can't answer it the way you would want me to answer because rural is very heterogeneous, right? So you'll have very outlandish locations in every state. Tamil Nadu is, for instance, a fairly urbanized state. We'll have very outlandish locations because not every village looks the same. So a village ultimately will be a microcosm of rural India, but each one of it would be very, very different. But what I can tell you is that there's one experience that's constant. That is when we deliver products, a television, a refrigerator, washing machine, whatever be the product, we have the whole village coming in to witness the delivery.
Right. It is, of course, a very big deal for most people who haven't been serviced by e-commerce platforms in the past. Let's talk money for a bit. 500 crores is what you've garnered up in terms of a revenue since inception in 2013, but you want to hit the magic number of 1,000 crore as early as 2022. How do you hope to get there?
See, firstly, we have this business model that works beautifully, right? It's a business model that works on the concept of co-creation. So in many ways, if you have to draw parallels with very well-known businesses you could call as the Ubers of rural markets.
Right.
Because you haven't had distribution channels being created 70 years since independence. How do you do it now? Without spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So we have the business model in place. We have the elements of the co-creation already available to us. It's just a question of joining the dots, which you already have done, and then scaling it up.
Right.
So I think we're ready for scale. It's just a question of how fast we want to do it.
Right. And I also noticed that for a fact that you already set aside a target of 250 crore rupees for the current fiscal. So even at the same growth rate, if you were to maintain this, you could well, hit 1,000 crore on by 2022. So are you on track to getting there?
Yeah, I think we're on track because, like I said, we are already covering 47% of India's village universe.
Right, yeah.
It's just a question of selling more to the same customers and getting a customer experience in place, because the objective really is to give them the kind of customer experience that typically an urban customer would aspire for.
But I'm quite curious, what happens when the Flipkarts and Amazons of the world end up expanding? And I know for a fact that both these companies are extremely interested in the Indian market, and expansion and greater coverage is something that they have been speaking of for some time now. So in the event of an expansion plan, if these two behemoths decide to cover a larger part of the market than they currently do, what happens to a player like you?
Firstly, great organizations both. But I must say that we are the operating system for rural. Right. And that includes so many elements, the cultural element, the fact that we're completely local. Our teams are local, we speak local language, our apps are in local language, right? Plus, most critically, we're seen as insiders in the market. And finally, like I said, if you're going rural, you've got to bring the whole 9 yards of the rural commerce ecosystem, right?
Absolutely.
So we already have it there. Then maybe the way out would be co-opetition rather than competition.
Well, Boonbox, to hit